1976, 50 years ago next year. We sold women's clothing. Punchline. That's what we did. We did it for 19 years. And it was a great business. But times change. You have to evolve. By the time the early 90s came around, it became obvious that the women's clothing industry wasn't the one for us. And business kind of went a little bit pear-shaped. But, you know, as things often happen in a fortuitous chain of events, the guy who owned the shop adjacent to this, he was retiring. And he was a video butcher. He did videos and he did butchery. So you'd have, on one side of the store, you'd have a rack of VHS tapes. On the other side of the store, you'd have a fresh meat counter. And it was quite interesting because you would rent a film, as I often did back when I was a kid, and you would open the case and the case would smell of raw sausage. It was rather grim. But yeah, so he was retiring, and my dad, who owned the shop, said, well, you know, let's try doing something different. So we did. We thought, right, let's give VHS a go. And at the time, it was a great business. You know, it was the late 90s. Home video was booming. Blockbuster video was in its prime. Loads and loads of independent video stores were flourishing. You know, if you look at the world as a whole, there were 60 independent video stores in the world in 1995. There were 5 blockbusters. You know, 65 video stores in a tiny space of land. Now, today, there's 4 movie rental stores in the entire country. How things change. But yeah, so that's what we did on the 8th of August 1995. We opened as Snips Movies. We had about 300 VHS tapes. And we just began work and, you know, just kind of evolved over time, really. Just began to collect a library of films and build it. And here we are in 2025. You know, physical media is so important. It's the importance of this place. It's an archive. It's a place where things stay, things reside in perpetuity. Things are always here. And that's the problem with a digital situation, whereby things don't stay forever. If we go that way, if we say goodbye to all of this, I do think we're in real danger of losing a great deal of amazing art made by amazing filmmakers, all for the sake of convenience. In terms of an analog format, I just think it's the tangible aspect to it. It's the tangible aspect to it, and it's the buy-in a lot of the time. It's the buy-in. You know, the problem with a digital or consuming things in a digital way is that we don't buy into it as much. There's an easy exit. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been scrolling through Netflix or Prime, and we'll get to a film, we'll watch the first 10 minutes, and we'll just think, oh, we'll keep on scrolling to something else. But I think when you leave the house and you make the effort to drive somewhere or walk somewhere or get the bus somewhere, to rent something or buy something physical, I just think that whole task of going through a physical act, of getting something tangible in your hands, I think the buy-in is there. You've made an effort to go somewhere and do something and get something. I think you're more likely to see it through to the end. You're more likely to absorb it and consume it fully instead of just in some very... I mean, streaming is a very disposable way to watch movies, and we watch them in a very disposable way. You know, we don't... Yeah, the off button is too easy. Or I think if you've made an effort, that by hook or by crook, whether you enjoy it or not, you will watch a film from start credits to end credits. We all have some kind of issue with regard to getting up and facing the day. Life is difficult. But in a digital world, streaming kind of plays on that. it forces us to do everything by ourselves. You know, you only need to load up your Netflix screen, and I don't know if you share your house with a household, but you'll load up your Netflix screen and it will have 4 boxes. Everyone has their own separate Netflix account. So even in the streaming world, everything is separated. We're separated. We can't share, you know, if it's mum, dad, sister, brother, uncle, nan. It doesn't matter. We're all separate boxes. I'm going into my separate Netflix account. I'm going to watch precisely what Netflix is telling me to watch. And nobody else will know what I'm watching. I'm just going to watch it and consume it in my room on my own. And if I see the greatest film that I've seen in my life, the credits will roll. I won't have to return it to any store. I won't have bought it from any store. I won't have involved myself with another human in the entire process of beginning to end of consuming that film. And I'm just going to watch the end credits, turn off the TV, turn off the light and go to sleep. That is such a solitary existence. You know, we're dealing with film. Film is meant to be a unifying, it's meant to unify people. It is a community thing. Going to the cinema, being with 100, 200 people. You know, we've done that for over 100 years. In the digital world, we are governed by algorithms. You know, I said to you in the past, the second you watch something on Netflix before the credits roll, you get told what you should be watching next. Which is a depressing thing to be told by a computer who think they know you what you should be watching next. And invariably people would say, oh, but yeah, I really liked this incredibly bland film I've just watched. Oh, let me watch something else that's really bland. And people will just be, you know, be stoned with blandness. And that's the beauty of here, in that it is anti-algorithm. You know, just because you watch, I don't know, Deadpool versus Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine, it doesn't mean that you're now going to watch Hellboy, or it doesn't mean you're going to watch Venom. You know, you can go anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. You can go to the World Cinema section at the back and you can rent something from Romania. You can then go to Film Noir and rent a Film Noir. You can then go to Westerns and rent a Western. You can then go to the kids section and rent Herbie Goes Bananas. You know, there's no rules. You can go anywhere you want. And that's so important, because I think anyone who has an affection for films has a broad taste. You know, they like a bit of everything. So I think it's very dangerous. It's dangerous for your personality as well to be so confined to a certain type of film. It's important to sample everything. Variety, I know it's a cliche, but variety is the spice of life. So that's what's great about here, in that you can go through any decade of a century of cinema. You can see, we spoke about it before, silent films like Chaplin's, Harold Lloyd's, Laurel and Hardy's, move through German expressionism in the 1920s. You can look at the film noir of the 1940s, the great westerns of the 50s, the independent films of the 1960s, through to all the great, you know, Easy Rider style stuff, then to the 80s and beyond. The beauty of physical media is that some of the stuff that comes out now is just so weird. It's just so brilliant. It's so diverse. It's so rare. It's so many companies now, they spend their whole lives restoring classic films that you didn't even know existed. Every week, every day almost, I've got a film coming in that if you presented it to, I don't know, most of the mainstream general public, they wouldn't even know it existed. And that's the beauty of where physical media is now. Right now, it's gone so niche and it's gone so specialist that we're seeing some really, really unique films come out to Blu-ray and 4K UHD, and it's absolutely fantastic. And what these companies are doing, they're rescuing these films from pure obscurity. And so that's the really cool stuff. That, yeah, streaming has its benefits to some degree, but physical media, if you like films, if you're into films, I think it's a necessity. You have to buy into physical media. Whether it's buying it, whether it's renting it, you need it. You absolutely need it, because it will take you to another level in terms of your appreciation for cinema.